I caught up with Giles Trendle, who heads the Al Jazeera media network, and asked him why Al Jazeera had become so politicized in the current crisis.
Difficult to know, really. I mean, we still are a little unsure what was behind all the demands, but I think in terms of Al Jazeera, it's well known that Al Jazeera has been covering the region, covering the world. That we are a media network that takes pride in our journalism and takes pride in asking strong questions wherever they need to be asked, of covering events all over the world. And when you had the Arab Spring in 2011, we were on the streets covering the events with the people, with the governments, asking questions. We were reporting factually and frankly and fairly on all the events. And I think there are some, let's say, players in the region who find that maybe disturbing, threatening in some way.
You talk about players in the region. The United Arab Emirates came out and said that Al Jazeera needed to be shut down because it was being used as a propaganda tool by Qatar to interfere in the internal affairs of neighboring countries.
We are doing our jobs as journalists by covering events in the world. Now, of course, there are these accusations, but we reject such accusations. We are journalists. Our job is to cover what's happening in the world. We do it in an objective way, we do it in a professional way, and we stand by the credibility and the integrity of our journalism. There are many accusations, but I think they're unfounded and baseless.
What has changed in these past few months as far as the blockade is concerned, as far as Al Jazeera's position in all of this?
Look, from day one, we found the demands outrageous, but we were not necessarily completely surprised because we've heard these accusations before, and we know that the countries in question, in their own home countries, the media is regulated, heavily regulated, even suppressed, and that we saw this as a means of trying to export that suppression of the media. But from day one, the people here, all the employees were at their desks. We were calm, and we just kept. It was like the famous wartime poster, "Keep calm and carry on," the famous World War II poster. That's really what we did, despite the fact that we were, in a way, part of the story. No journalist, as I'm sure you will appreciate, likes to be at the center of a story. We report stories. We don't like to be at the center of them.
What do you think Al Jazeera has done over the past decade, 2 decades, in the Middle East? And why do you think that has become so controversial for a lot of these
reasons? We cover all sides of the story. It's in the very DNA of what we do. We cover all sides of the story. So Al Jazeera Arabic was the first Arabic channel to feature Israeli spokespeople, speaking direct, live, phone-ins. I remember, when Al Jazeera Arabic started, to have a live phone-in was seen as something revolutionary in a region where you were used to having state-run media, where the news would be what the president was doing, or what the leader was doing, who they were meeting. That was the first half an hour of the news bulletin in the state-run media. So Al Jazeera, when it started about 22 years ago, really revolutionized that in the region. And we've been doing the same ever since. But when you have governments and regimes that only want one narrative being told to their people and to the region, then when you present multiple or different narratives, when you're doing your job as a journalist, they don't like that, because they don't like these other narratives to be aired, broadcast, heard, listened to. They just want their one narrative, and that's their one version of truth, of their truth, and they don't like other narratives.
Looking forward, Qatar finds itself in a very difficult position once again, with the US president pulling out of the Iran deal. Where do you think Al Jazeera and Qatar go from here, as far as having, taking sides or being pushed into a corner to take sides?
Look, I mean, it's a new development in the region. Personally, I think all of us are concerned about what's going to happen, and I don't speak just as a journalist, I speak as a human being. All around the world there is concern about where this might go. But as journalists, whatever the developments, we will cover them, and we're here in the region, and we will carry on covering these events.
Thank you so much.